Our top focus on WION at this hour. 2 days since a blast rocked Delhi, security forces from different states have made several arrests, from doctors to clerics who are parts of this white-collar Faridabad terror module. While the threat of Delhi blasts are linked to objections posters in Naugam area of Srinagar, for which an FIR was registered on the 19th of October. As part of the investigation of this case, Dr. Muzammil Ahmad Ganai from Pulwama was picked up from Faridabad, where he worked at Al Falah School of Medical Sciences and Research Centre. Another doctor, Abdul Majid Rathar from Jammu and Kashmir's Anantnag district, was arrested in Saharanpur. Police sources said that Umar Nabi, a third doctor who went missing after the arrest, is likely the bomber and the person captured on CCTV footage in the Hyundai i20. According to reports, Umar met Ganai and Rathar living in Al Falah Medical College. Now, while there's no confirmation from the officials, sources say based on the CCTV footage, it is almost conclusively established that the car in which the explosion took place was being driven by Umar. Citing officials involved in the investigation, the sources said the possibility of the explosives of the car detonating accidentally is not being ruled out. Umar's sister-in-law said that he last called on Friday and informed them that he would be busy with examinations and would return back home after 3 days. She described Umar as an introvert and claimed he did not have many friends growing up, while expressing her disbelief that he could be involved in a terrorist activity.
मैं क्या कह सकती हूँ इसके हवाले से बस मैं यही कह सकती हूँ कि इस टाइप का वो इंसान था ही नहीं, हमें लगता ही नहीं था। हमें तो बस यही, हमने कितनी स्ट्रगल की उसे पढ़ाने में, यहाँ तक पहुँचाने में, पूरी मेहनत की, पूरी लगन के साथ उसे यहाँ तक पहुँचाया था ताकि वो कुछ कमा सके और फिर हमें भी कुछ खिलाए पिलाए।
आपको क्या विश्वास हो रहा है कि वो ऐसा कर सकता है?
मुझे तो यकीन ही नहीं हो रहा है, मैं तो परेशान हो रही हूँ।
Umar's whereabouts are still unknown. His mother's DNA samples have been collected to match with bodies which were recovered from the site of the blast. Now, Umar was reportedly the most radicalized member of the module, which besides Ganai and Rathar, also included Dr. Shaheen Shahid. Arrested from Lucknow on Monday, Shaheen was tasked with establishing the women's wing of the Pakistan-based terror group Jaish-e-Mohammed in India. Now, this according to sources. They said that Dr. Shaheen was handed charge of the India branch of the JEM's women's wing, Jamaat-ul-Mominat, which is headed by JEM founder Masood Azhar's sister, Sadia Azhar, in Pakistan. Sources said that during questioning, Shaheen confessed that she, along with other suspect doctors, were planning terrorist attacks across the country and had been collecting explosive material for the past 2 years. Now, this brings us to another important member of the module, cleric Irfan Ahmad. He's reportedly the Imam of mosque in Jammu and Kashmir's Shopian. He was arrested a day after the blast. Now, along with Ahmad, the security forces arrested his wife during a raid at their home for allegedly recruiting and radicalizing doctors, including those arrested in the Faridabad module, as well as several youths in the valley. The Imam came under the radar of the intelligence officials after posters bearing Jaish-e-Mohammed's name appeared on walls in Naugam on the 19th of October. And to unpack it further, we're being joined by Brigadier Kuldeep Singh, ex-Principal Director, Defence and Joint Intelligence, National Security Council, and Sanjeev Kishan Sood, Additional Director General of Border Security Force, retired. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us on the broadcast. So we know 3 major revelations have come to light. The first, of course, the suspects had recce the Red Fort. Second, that there was a planned strike on the 26th of January, Republic Day. And third, that they considered targeting a crowded place on Diwali. Now, in the light of these shocking revelations, Mr. Sood, let me come to you first. Did the Red Fort blast expose some major loopholes in our security and intelligence network? Or perhaps we should look at it as a case of the police successfully thwarting a more sinister plot before it unfolded?
No, in my view, it exposed the loopholes. You see, the Faridabad recovery, the recoveries in Saharanpur, Lucknow, etc. should have alerted the Delhi police to be more vigilant. And if you analyze for last 30 years, most of the incidents that have occurred in the area, in and around area, Chandni Chowk. The police should have focused more. The intelligence agencies should have focused more on collecting information about these militant organizations, and also secrecy should have been maintained about the recoveries earlier made. The Faridabad commissioner went on air to announce that so much recovery has been made, which must have alerted this person to carry out the attack as soon as possible, so that at least one major incident takes place. We need to focus more on intelligence and security.
Right, Mr. Sood, we hear you. Now, coming to Mr. Singh, so what's your take? The Red Fort blast has revealed that suspects could drive into the central Delhi with explosives despite heightened security and major seizures earlier that very same morning. How could it even happen? Or are you of the opinion that the Red Fort explosion was rather a desperate attack after the Faridabad terror module cracked down and not part of a coordinated plan?
I think what seems to have happened from the information that is out in the open domain at the moment is that after the recovery was made of almost 3 tons, that is about 2,900 kgs of various explosive materials, the timers, remote controls, etc. The perpetrators, part of them who were not arrested, panicked, and they were trying to take the explosive material somewhere, and while they were trying to shift that so-called vehicle with the explosives, it has gone off. That is one possibility. The other possibility is that they were intending to use this car as a VBID, that is a vehicle-based IED, right from the beginning, and it had been prepared as such, and having panicked, they took it out and decided to resort to what we call use it or lose it syndrome. So they went and detonated it. But I think that's not the case, given the fact that these people did not exercise due operational security. He has been seen at various places, including on CCTV, and they have the PUC certificate, etc. So that is very poor operational security by the terrorists, and good for us.
Right, Mr. Sood, of course, you rightly pointed out that this was not a usual pattern which a lot of these suicide bombers follow. And of course, either of these situations could have been true. It could have been accidental, which the officials have not ruled out, but also that the perpetrator could have acted out of panic. Now, Mr. Sood, I want to come back to you, and I want to understand that considering that this comes soon after the Pahalgam attack and the ongoing investigations into the terror modules in NCR, do you think our security agencies have learned the right lessons? Or are there still lapses which are more systemic in nature here?
I think have a feeling that we don't learn lessons from our past mistakes. Pulwama happened. We never got to know how exactly did that 300 or so kg of explosive reach India. Pahalgam happened. We did not know how did the militants come. This has happened. How have they come? How has so much of explosive material been collected? We do not know. I hope we now carry out proper inquiry and learn our lessons and disseminate those lessons to the security agencies for future preventive action.
Right, Mr. Singh, what's your take to this? Of course, we've heard from Mr. Sood, and that's a valid point there. The suspects did manage to get explosives into the central national capital. Now, this does point to a gap in security, or do you think it's simply an example of, as we just discussed, a last-minute panic attack by the terrorists under pressure, and perhaps the authorities were able to thwart a more sinister, like a bigger plot out there? What's your take on that?
I think we tend to castigate our intelligence agencies a bit too much, whereas they have a very commendable record of professional conduct on these issues. I have been there for almost 15 years in this field, and we have seen them function. See, the problem is they remain unsung for the attacks that they thwart. And the terrorists, they have to either get through and carry out one attack, just one attack out of the hundreds that we foil and in which we possibly have not been able to pick up, or even give a glimpse that a terror attack was planned, because it is publicity for their cause which they are looking at. Now, you see, the problem that has happened is, which none of us are willing to understand or address, is that there has been a very basic fundamental shift in the methodology and modus operandi of how terrorist modules operate. You see, pre 9/11, there was this model of fake identity documents, fake passports, databases, and there was no communication between law enforcement agencies of different countries. And it was therefore very easy for the terrorist entities to have their traditional large hierarchical terrorist organizations with directly supported terrorism, coming in and being supplied. Now, after all these measures were incrementally put in after 9/11 attack, and all the countermeasures are put in, that today you have identity documents which cannot be forged, passports which cannot be forged, databases which allow checks at every airport, etc., or various things. Like if you look at Aadhaar today, it can be checked out. Communications are there between, law enforcement of international agencies. The terrorists too have evolved from that, large hierarchical model to what we call the clean skin lone wolf, small autonomous cells, leaderless model, with assisted, online assisted self-radicalization. So therefore, the greatest challenge for the security forces, unless they start listening to every word and vastly augment their, resources, and in fact, in other terms, we created it into a dystopian country, there is no way that they are going to be able to detect every amateur lone wolf who has a genuine grievance or a perceived grievance.
Right, Mr.
So
Singh,
in my view, I think the intelligence agencies have done a wonderful job in thwarting this attack, of what could have been a major attack.
Of course, and that is, of course, in line with what the government has also claimed. It has claimed that in this year alone, they have thwarted 22 terror attacks. But based on what you are seeing, this can also be seen as a proof that the intelligence is functioning effectively despite isolated incidents. But of course, all it takes is one isolated incident to spark the kind of questions that are dealing with right now. And Mr. Sood has brought up some really valid points there. But for now, thank you so much both for joining us on the broadcast and sharing your perspective with us to help us paint a comprehensive picture of what has transpired in the last 48 hours and, of course, beyond that.
Thank you so much.